Namaskar. Hello students. This is Dr. Preeti here from St. Andrews College, University of Mumbai. This is a video lecture series initiated by Center for Excellence in E-Content Development from the Institute of Distance and Open Learning of Mumbai University. This is the University of Mumbai, one of the very few A++ universities in India today. So this is a lecture series which is initiated to provide a very continuous, constant and very significant audiovisual support in the studies of the development of e-content and the studies of distance learning. With this video lecture, we are going to start with the first year BCom Business Communication, and immediately we are going to start with module number 1 today. So this module is an introduction about your paper, about your chapters, about the concept of communication. So what we are going to see today in this video, first we will understand what is the communication from mainly three perspectives: communication from the colloquial understanding, communication from the technical understanding, and communication also from the business communication perspective. And immediately after that, we are going to understand 4 basic models which will help us to understand the process of communication better. So let's start. Communication is essential since it helps to cultivate relationships and provides assistance in comprehending the context in which others are attempting to express themselves. It is very crucial to facilitate cooperation in both the professional and the other domains like social context or maybe other interpersonal context. Communication can be either simple or can be extremely complicated depending on how it is broken down into its component parts. To have a solid grasp on communication, it is necessary to have a solid understanding of various fundamental principles that underlie the communication process in general. So let us just try and understand that how a person who initiates any communication can get complete benefit after knowing the process. The person that initiates a conversation by sending a message is known as the sender, of course, depending on which term you prefer, sender or the messenger. The message is the information that is being communicated to the recipient in any given communication scenario. The person to whom the message is addressed and who is intended for it is referred to as the recipient or the receiver. Participants may also make reference to either the sender or the receiver in a message. Now, to understand these basic elements of communication, let us try and understand what we call a model. What is a model? Model is nothing but a one streamlined systematic concept to understand the idea or maybe the ideology. So here, a model is a representation of an object or event that is systematic, idealized, and abstract in nature. So why are we using models? Models are inherently subject to some degree of subjectivity due to their very important nature. Why we call models abstract? Because models are actually giving us a kind of genealogy of the subject. So the way we understand communication today is not always the way communication was initiated. And to understand this, we have got total 3 different models. See, more or less the elements of the communication remains the same, but how we incorporate, how we integrate these elements, that actually makes difference in almost model to model or the kind of understanding. Usually what happens that sometimes, however, the usefulness of a model is largely decided by how closely it resembles the underlying elements that drive communication behavior on a point-to-point basis. This is because the more closely a model matches these factors, the more useful it is. Today, in the era of information and communication technology, it has ushered in a kind of a period which is profound with the use of technological know-how. However, today, the paradigms that are covered in the introductory chapters of modern communication, or any textbooks for that matter, are mostly unchanged from those they were prevailing years ago when we have initiated communication as a systematic study of any kind of exchanges of ideas. So now when we are looking at the idea of a model, let us see before that what is a general communication model. What do we understand just by the word communication? This is called a generic or the general communication model. It takes place, as you can well see, that when the sender selects a certain message, give it to a special treatment before sending it over a chosen channel to the recipient, who then analyzes the message before behaving in a manner that was indeed intended. This completes one typical cycle of communication. Sender is synonymous with communicator, speaker, and the source in some of the contexts. So within the context of progression and growth, you are the one who is sending the message. You decide which message to send, how to deliver them, which channel to use, so that your audience or recipient can comprehend and respond appropriately to the information. This is called the generic model of communication. This is what is understood by most of the manners, areas, and fields of expertise today. When we look at this typical model, generic model, it is also important for all of us to understand that what were the previous models, or what are the parallel, available, alternate models. Let us try and understand how that extension or that development can help to understand today's concept better. It is possible that a pamphlet or a booklet, which we call a message today, will have all the information, or it might just have one line, or maybe a text, or just an illustration like a poster. So today, when we talk about the word message, it is a very plural term which is not intended for one-to-one, not a written one, not a kind of a spoken one, but most of the time it is an integration of it. Currently also we are in a mode of communication where we are having some textual elements on the screen, we are also having some verbal elements, and we are also having some kind of non-verbal elements which are already there. That means today's communication as a concept is a multi-integrated concept. It's a plural concept. To understand it further, let us just see how the message is transmitted. Prior to its transmission, the message uses a channel. What do we mean by the word channel? The purpose is to facilitate a very clear and convincing comprehension of the message on the part of the audience. The route, usually the channel is, in the colloquial term, we call it a route that is used by the communication is referred to as the channel. Examples of channels, usually we may include that newspapers, radio, TV, maybe broadcast, as well as many other forms of media. Today, what the channel we are using right now is a broadcast channel. We are using the multimodal channel, which is also having very strong audio-visual element in that. So when we write a letter to the person or people who will get it later on, it also could be a very single individual using one singular channel to a group of readers of a circular letter or a newspaper. So students, with this very basic understanding, at the end of this video, I would like to give you some tests to check your understanding, maybe just little bit of basic, very interesting, interactive questions or quizzes. So do take it, do test your understanding, do clarify your concepts. You may go back to the video, and in the next video, we are going to start with the basic model of communication. Thank you.